Dimana, tell me a time in your life when you had to face a big obstacle, whether it was a personal one or a professional one.
A time in my life, I would say just before I had moved to Dubai. So, one of the reasons why I moved to Dubai actually was because of a personal obstacle.
Okay.
So, it was difficult for me after going back from the UK to Bulgaria to come from Bulgaria to here because of that obstacle. But, I guess that was just life and a part of life. And things like that do happen. It's just important to be able to pull yourself together and to remind yourself that life does move on and you just have to carry on.
When exactly did you move to Dubai again?
On the 4th of April, 2022.
Oh, you remember the exact date?
Yes, I know my anniversary.
Amazing. And when you moved to Dubai, what was your first job?
My first job was in real estate as a broker.
Do you remember when you closed your first deal? Like, what was that feeling like?
It was amazing. It was a great sense of accomplishment. There was a lot of hard work that went into it. And before closing my deal, in my head, I had closed a million other deals, which never actually pulled through.
Yeah.
But when it does happen, it's a great sense of achievement. And what was important for me and what everyone around me told me is just keep the ball rolling. So just keep going. Don't sit back and relax, but instead use that momentum and use it as motivation to close even more. And that's exactly what happened and how it happened.
What advice would you give someone that is looking to get into real estate as a salesperson, whether it's a broker or a sales manager, to, obviously have a good start in the industry?
I would say, obviously, it's very important to have savings. A lot of people go into the industry watching all of the Instagram stories,
Yes.
seeing how glamorous this life is and how there's no limit to it, which is all indeed true. But before you reach that point, it's important for you to be aware that your expenses will still be rolling and it will take you some time to really settle down, get a feel of the industry, of how it works, what the processes are, of what type of buyers you have in Dubai, because real estate in Dubai is very different than real estate anywhere else. It's very fast paced. And some people with prior experience somewhere else might not be quite as ready as they would think they are when they come to Dubai. So definitely have your own personal savings and just be patient, put in the work, and it will happen. As long as you're putting in the work, the hours, and you have the knowledge on the things and the projects that you're trying to sell, the process behind it, then inevitably it will happen. It's just a matter of time.
Okay, you mentioned savings. How many months of savings do you think a broker should have?
I would say be on the safe side, and it's always good when you're moving even abroad to have at least 3 months of, of your standard type of savings, because everyone's definition of savings is different.
Exactly.
But something that can maintain your standard for 3 months should be good.
I've seen a lot of brokers, unfortunately, who have to go on for maybe 5 months, 6 months, even 8, 9 months without closing a deal.
It does happen.
It's a very unfortunate situation, which I feel like the market doesn't show that often, which I feel like it's very important to inform youngsters that are coming into this industry about that, because just like you mentioned, they will show the glamorous lifestyle of Dubai and becoming a broker, going to like nice villas and all, showing clients apartments. But this is a side which needs to be talked about as well, as just be safe. So I'm glad you
100%.
spoke about that. How do you think the Dubai market is going right now?
I think it's going in a very healthy way. So even when you look at Dubai market as a trend over the years, there's ups and downs, but the line that it's following is up. So, summertime, it does slow down a little bit because the majority of people are out of Dubai. But I've always said this, and I always keep saying this, that Dubai doesn't really have a slow period as what people would imagine, because you just have different types of investors coming in at different periods of the year. So during the summer, you tend to have more of the seasoned investors, the ones that know that they can potentially get a better deal, they can negotiate better on the secondary market deal. So it's still very active. And the boom that everyone is talking about, I genuinely don't think it's going to happen, at least nowhere near the next 5 years.
And nowadays, there are hundreds of projects that are coming out constantly. What would differentiate a project for an investor that can tell an investor, you know what, this will most likely increase in value in a very short amount of time?
It would always be projects that are located in areas that are yet to be developed. That is needless to say, especially when it comes to capital gain and further in the future ROI. It's areas where ideally you want to see at least a little bit of development so that you have that safety where you're seeing that there are things happening, but the majority of the land is not developed as of yet. Because inevitably it will be developed. We have seen it through the years and through the decades how central part of Dubai is not the central part of Dubai anymore. The city keeps growing and shifting and expanding further down, further in towards the desert and towards Alain part.
Still has a lot of space to build.
Yeah, 100%. You look at the numbers of people that are coming in versus the numbers of units that are being handed over, as well as the units that are already on the secondary market. It's over demand and under supply. Hence why the rent is also going up.
Let's say someone wants to become a broker, join the industry. How can a broker find a good agency to join? Because nowadays there's thousands of brokerages.
I would say if you're joining in just now, always pick a big agency because they will give you the training that you need. You'll be able to see and witness more professionals and how they deal with the daily tasks and their investors and their meetings. At this point in your career, when you're just joining in, when you're new, you need to be like a sponge. So you need to see which place will give you the most knowledge, which place will give you the best training, where can you learn the most from people that have been in the industry for years. And then afterwards, I believe once you have your base, you should move to a boutique development and a boutique company because then it's more personalized. You have more of the freedom to be able to cater to your clients without the micromanagement that comes with bigger companies.
Yes. I'm pretty sure you have been in the industry for quite a while. You've closed different sizes of deals. Would you say that there's a different pressure that comes along closing a bigger deal than a smaller deal, or do you think it's the same pressure?
That's actually funny because sometimes it's more difficult to close a smaller budget client than a higher budget client.
I've heard this quite often.
Yeah. And it's a fact. Don't get me wrong, vice versa. Bigger deals take longer to happen because sometimes it's a company that is purchasing the property, whether it's off-plan, secondary, regardless. So then you have more documentation, you have board of directors, all of them need to agree on the investment, etc. But typically what tends to happen is that smaller deals are more difficult to execute because in the vast majority of cases, this is a first-time buyer, they are first-time investor. It's their first time, whether it's just for themselves or pure investment. And they put a lot of thinking, a lot of consideration into it. They're quite slower with their decision-making process. And also, just like the board of directors of a company, they need to speak to their mom, their wife, their sister, their aunt, their grandma. Everyone needs to agree on it. Exactly. That's their board of directors that they need to speak to. So it's a very different procedure and a very different thing dealing with a very big deal and with a smaller deal. Different type of problems. Some are slower, others are faster, but then with some you need more approvals than others. So yeah, very different. Very different.
What is your long-term goal at MAK?
My long-term goal is to see through with the company's vision because at this point, MAK feels like my family. It feels like it's my own company. And I believe everyone who works at MAK feels that way. We're all very invested into the company. And that is, a lot of this is due to the people who we work with and who we work for at the same time.
100%.
Because Mr. Ali and Mr. Sudais, they're amazing men and they're the type of leaders that, when they go up, they take you up with them as well.
For sure.
So my long-term goal is to see our projects being handed over, to see our clients moving in, the joy and the happiness on their faces once they receive their keys and they step through their property, really setting it as a standard on the market and setting the name. Because for now, before any handovers, there is certain level only that you can achieve. But once it's handed over, then it's a complete game changer.
Of course.
So for me, this period is very, very exciting when all of our projects will be handing over, because 2 of them will be handing over at the same time. Isolabella,
Yes.
and our next project in
Next
Medan.
project coming out. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Dimana, for this was the first episode with
was a
Dimana.
pleasure.
And I hope you guys will be watching all our podcasts that are coming up next. Thank you so much for watching.